with graying hair who had seen too many desperate customers to show much sympathy anymore. Simone pushed the cart forward, her heart hammering against her ribs. She had carefully calculated everything. The diapers were 99 cents. The small container of formula was 68 cents. That left her with exactly 0 cents to spare, but it would keep Arya comfortable and fed for maybe 2 more days. 2 more days to figure out how to keep her daughter from being taken away by social services. The cashier scanned the diapers first. Beep. Then the formula. Beep. Simone held her breath. "That'll be $2.19, the cashier announced without looking up. The words hit Simone like a physical blow. Her vision blurred around the edges as panic set in. "I'm sorry, what? I thought, the price is on the shelf." "Tax, honey. Plus there was a price increase yesterday. Haven't had time to change all the tags." Simone's mouth went dry. Behind her, she could hear other customers shifting impatiently. Arya began to fuss, sensing her mother's distress. The diaper she was wearing had been wet for hours, but it was the last clean one they had. I only have $1.67, Simone whispered, her voice barely audible over the sound of her own heartbeat. The cashier sighed and looked at her properly for the first time. She saw a young African-American woman, maybe 25, with exhausted eyes and clothes that had been washed too many times. "You'll have to put something back." This was it. This was the moment that would haunt Simone for the rest of her life. Put back the diapers and Arya would have to sit in a soiled diaper all night. Put back the formula and her baby would go hungry. There was no good choice. There was no choice that wouldn't hurt her innocent daughter. She reached for the formula with trembling fingers. Arya needed clean diapers more than food, right? Or was it the other way around? How was a mother supposed to choose between her child's basic needs? "Ma'am?" The cashier's voice seemed to come from very far away. Simone closed her eyes, fighting back tears. She had graduated from college with honors. She had been a good teacher until the school district had to make budget cuts. She had done everything right and still, here she was, unable to afford the most basic necessities for her daughter. The people behind her were getting louder now, making comments about holding up the line. Someone muttered something about welfare mothers that made Simone's cheeks burn with shame. She wanted to disappear, to melt into the floor and never have to face this impossible choice. Arya's whimper broke through her paralysis. Her baby needed her to be strong, to make a decision even if it was the wrong one. Simone opened her eyes and reached for the formula again, preparing to put it back. But where would this end? Tomorrow she would need both items again. The next day too. How long could she keep choosing between her daughter's basic needs? How long before someone noticed that Arya wasn't being properly cared for? How long before they decided that Simone wasn't fit to be a mother? The thought of losing Arya was worse than anything else she could imagine. It was worse than being homeless, worse than being hungry, worse than standing in this store unable to afford diapers and formula for her baby. What kind of mother was she if she couldn't even provide the basics? What kind of mother let her child go without clean diapers or food? The questions spiraled in her mind, each one more devastating than the last. She looked down at Arya, whose big brown eyes were so trusting, so full of love. Her daughter didn't know they were broke. She didn't know they had been evicted from their apartment last week. She didn't know they had been sleeping in Simone's old car, parked behind a 24-hour laundromat where the sounds of the machines might mask Arya's cries. All Arya knew was that she loved her mama, and that mama had always taken care of her before. But now mama couldn't even afford diapers and formula at the same time. The fluorescent lights seemed to get brighter, more harsh. The other customers seemed to lean in closer, waiting to see what she would do. The cashier drummed her fingers impatiently on the counter. And Simone stood there, frozen between two impossible choices, knowing that whatever she decided would mean her daughter would suffer. This was rock bottom. This was the moment when you realize that all your efforts, all your good intentions, all your love, might not be enough to keep your child safe and cared for. This was the moment when hope dies and desperation takes over. This was the moment when Simone Walker understood that being a good mother might not be enough if you didn't have money to back it up. And behind her in line, a man in an expensive suit watched it all unfold, his own heart breaking for this young mother and her innocent child. Have you ever watched someone face an impossible choice? Have you seen a mother's heart break right in front of you? Subscribe to see how one moment of kindness can change everything, and tell us in the comments. What would you have done in Simone's situation? Gabriel Richardson had been having the worst day of his life when he decided to stop at the corner store for a bottle of water. His company's biggest client had just pulled out of $1 million deal, his assistant had quit without notice, and his penthouse apartment felt like a tomb after another evening alone. He was 42 years old, worth more money than he could spend in 3 lifetimes, and he had never felt more empty. But now, standing behind this young mother who was clearly struggling, Gabriel felt something he hadn't experienced in years, the opportunity to actually help someone who needed it. He had heard every word of the exchange with the cashier. He had seen the woman's hands shake as she counted her money. He had watched her face crumble when she realized she couldn't afford both items. And he had seen the love in her eyes when she looked at her daughter. Without hesitation, Gabriel stepped forward. "Excuse me," he said gently, his deep voice cutting through the tension. "I'd like to pay for this lady's groceries." Simone spun around, her eyes wide with surprise. She saw a tall man with kind gray eyes and salt and pepper hair. His suit probably cost more than she used to make in a month, but his expression was warm and genuine. "Oh no, I couldn't," she started, but Gabriel held up a gentle hand. "Please," he said. "It would be my honor." Something in his tone made Simone pause. This wasn't pity. This wasn't charity that came with strings attached. This was simply one human being helping another. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice thick with gratitude. "Thank you so much." Gabriel handed his credit card to the cashier, who suddenly seemed much more interested in providing good customer service. As she processed the transaction, Gabriel turned back to Simone. "Is there anything else you need? Formula, more diapers, baby food?" Simone's first instinct was to say no, to protect what was left of her pride. But then she looked at Arya, who was smiling and reaching toward this kind stranger, and she knew that her daughter's needs had to come before her ego. "We could use some baby food," she admitted. "And maybe some more formula." "Of course." Gabriel's face lit up with genuine pleasure. "Let's get whatever she needs." For the next 20 minutes, Gabriel followed Simone through the small store as she carefully selected items for Arya. He noticed how she checked every price, how she chose the generic brands, how she calculated everything in her head. When she hesitated over a package of baby crackers, he simply added them to their growing pile. "These are her favorite," Simone explained, her voice soft with memory. "She used to clap her hands whenever I opened a package." "Used to?" Gabriel asked gently. "Before things got difficult." Simone didn't elaborate, but Gabriel could fill in the blanks. At the checkout, the total came to over $60. Gabriel paid without blinking, and then did something that surprised even himself. "I don't want to overstep," he said as they walked toward the parking lot, "but would you and your daughter like to get some dinner? There's a family restaurant just down the street." Simone stopped walking. Why are you being so kind to us?" Gabriel was quiet for a moment, thinking about how to explain something he didn't fully understand himself. "I have everything money can buy," he said finally. "But I don't have what you have. I don't have someone who looks at me the way your daughter looks at you. I don't have that kind of love in my life." The honesty in his voice made Simone's heart ache. "What's your name?" "Gabriel Richardson." "And you are?" "Simone Walker." "And this is Arya." As if she knew she was being introduced, Arya babbled something that sounded almost like, "Hi," and waved her little hand. Gabriel's face transformed with wonder. "Well, hello there, Arya. Aren't you just beautiful?" Arya giggled, a sound like silver bells that made both adults smile. "So," Gabriel said looking back at Simone, "what do you say? Dinner? My treat, of course." This time Simone didn't hesitate. "We'd love that. Thank you." The restaurant Gabriel chose was warm and welcoming, with high chairs for children and a kids' menu with pictures. Simone hadn't eaten in a restaurant in months, and the simple pleasure of having someone else cook and serve her food felt like the greatest luxury imaginable. As they ate, Gabriel learned that Simone had been a third-grade teacher until budget cuts eliminated her position 6 months ago. She had been evicted from her apartment the week before and had been staying in her car with Arya. "The hardest part isn't being homeless," Simone said, cutting Arya's grilled cheese into tiny pieces. "The hardest part is knowing that people will judge me. They'll think I'm a bad mother because I can't provide for her properly." "Anyone who sees you with her can tell you're a wonderful mother," Gabriel said firmly. "Love isn't measured in dollars, Simone." Simone felt tears prick her eyes. When was the last time someone had said something so kind to her? "What about you?" she asked, deflecting attention from her emotions. "Do you have children?" Gabriel's expression grew sad. "No. I was married once, but we divorced 5 years ago. We tried to have children, but it never happened. Now she's remarried and has the family she always wanted, just not with me." "I'm sorry." "Don't be. Some people aren't meant to be fathers, I suppose." Simone studied his face as he made funny expressions at Arya, who was giggling and clapping her hands. I think you're wrong about that. Their conversation was interrupted when Arya started to fuss. Simone knew the signs it was time for a diaper change and then a nap. I should get her settled for the night, Simone said reluctantly. She didn't want this magical evening to end. Where are you staying? Gabriel asked, though from their earlier conversation, he suspected he already knew the answer. My car, Simone admitted. Behind the laundromat on 5th Street. It's safe and the noise from the machines helps her sleep. Gabriel felt his heart clench. This beautiful woman and her innocent daughter were sleeping in a car while he had 8 empty bedrooms in his penthouse. That's not safe, he said gently. Not for either of you. It's what we have, Simone replied, her chin lifting slightly. What if I told you I knew of a place you could stay? A safe place, warm, with everything you need for Arya? Simone looked at him carefully. What would be the cost? Nothing. No cost, no strings attached. Just a safe place for you and your daughter to sleep. For a long moment, Simone searched his face for any sign of deception or hidden motives. All she saw was genuine concern and kindness. Okay, she said softly. Yes. Thank you. Gabriel smiled, and for the first time in years, it reached his eyes. The hotel suite Gabriel booked for them was nicer than any place Simone had ever stayed. 2 bedrooms, a kitchenette, and a living area that was bigger than her old apartment. But what touched her heart most was that Gabriel had stopped at a baby store on the way and purchased a crib, a high chair, toys, and clothes for Arya. This is too much, Simone said as Gabriel assembled the crib with surprising skill. It's not enough, Gabriel replied, focusing intently on the instruction manual. Every child deserves a safe place to sleep. Arya crawled around the room, exploring her new surroundings with the fearless curiosity that only toddlers possess. She had already claimed a stuffed elephant as her new favorite toy and was dragging it behind her wherever she went. How do you know how to put together baby furniture? Simone asked, settling into the comfortable armchair to watch. Gabriel's hands stilled for a moment. My ex-wife and I, we bought a crib once. Had the nursery all ready. But... He trailed off, focusing back on the screws and bolts. I'm sorry, Simone said softly. You don't have to talk about it. It's okay. It was a long time ago. Gabriel tightened the last screw and gave the crib a gentle shake to test its stability. There. What do you think, Arya? Will this work for you? Arya pulled herself up using the crib rails and bounced on her toes, babbling her approval. I think that's a yes, Simone laughed. That night, after Arya was asleep in her new crib, Simone and Gabriel sat in the living area talking. She learned that he had built his technology company from nothing, starting in his garage 12 years ago. He had never forgotten what it felt like to struggle, to wonder where the next meal was coming from. Money changes everything, Gabriel said, but it doesn't change the memory of being without it. Is that why you helped us? Simone asked. Gabriel considered this. Partly. But mostly because when I saw you with Arya, I saw something I've been looking for my whole life. What's that? Purpose. The next morning, Gabriel surprised Simone with an offer that would change everything. I need an assistant, he said over breakfast. Someone I can trust, someone intelligent, someone who understands what it means to work hard for what you have. Simone nearly choked on her coffee. Gabriel, I'm grateful for everything you've done, but I can't accept charity. It's not charity. It's a job. A real job with real responsibilities and a real salary. But you don't know anything about my work experience. You were a teacher. You managed a classroom of 38-year-olds, dealt with parents, handled budgets, created lesson plans, and somehow found time to actually teach children. If you can do that, you can handle being my assistant. Gabriel pulled out his phone and showed her something. This is what the position pays. Simone stared at the number on the screen. It was more than she had made as a teacher, even with her years of experience. That's a lot of money. It's what the job is worth. You'd be helping me run a multi-million-dollar company. You'd coordinate my schedule, handle correspondence, manage my calendar, and help me make decisions that affect hundreds of employees. Simone looked at Arya, who was happily munching on pieces of banana in her new high chair. Her daughter deserved stability. She deserved a mother who could provide for her without having to choose between diapers and food. What about childcare? Simone asked. Gabriel's face lit up. The company has an on-site daycare. Best in the city. Arya would be safe and well cared for while you work, and you could visit her throughout the day. Sounded too good to be true. Why? Simone asked. Why are you doing all this for us? Gabriel was quiet for a long moment, watching Arya play with her food. My parents died when I was 15, he said finally. Car accident. I went to live with my uncle, who saw me as a burden. I put myself through college, built my company, achieved everything I thought I wanted. But I've been alone for so long, I forgot what it felt like to have a family. He looked up at Simone. Yesterday, for the first time in years, I felt like I belonged somewhere. I felt like I had a purpose beyond making money. Simone felt her heart squeeze. Gabriel? I'm not asking you to be anything other than what you are, he said quickly. I'm not expecting anything except good work and honesty. But if you'll let me, I'd like to be part of your lives. I'd like to help Arya grow up knowing she's safe and loved and that she can be anything she wants to be. Simone thought about sleeping in her car, about counting pennies for diapers, about the fear that had become her constant companion. Then she looked at Gabriel, who was watching Arya with such genuine affection, and she knew that some chances were worth taking. When do I start? She asked. Gabriel's smile could have powered the entire city. 3 days later, Simone walked into Richardson Technologies wearing a new business suit that Gabriel had insisted was part of the uniform. The building was impressive, 30 floors of gleaming glass and steel in the heart of downtown. The daycare center was on the second floor with windows that looked out onto a small park. It was bright and cheerful, staffed by certified childcare professionals who fell in love with Arya the moment they met her. She'll be just fine, assured Mrs. Patterson, the daycare director, as Simone hesitated at the door. We have cameras throughout the facility, and you can check on her anytime through the app on your phone. Gabriel's office was on the 28th floor, with a view that stretched to the horizon. Simone's desk was positioned just outside his door, close enough to coordinate with him but with enough space to feel like her own domain. Your first task, Gabriel said, settling into his chair, is to organize my calendar. I've been handling it myself, and as you can see. He gestured to a desk covered in sticky notes, appointment cards, and scrawled reminders. Simone rolled up her sleeves. Leave it to me. By the end of her first day, she had digitized his entire schedule, set up a system for managing his appointments, and had already fielded a dozen phone calls. Gabriel watched her work with growing admiration. She was efficient, professional, and had a natural instinct for what was important and what could wait. How did it go? He asked as she prepared to leave. I love it, Simone said honestly. Thank you for giving me this chance. Thank you for taking it. That evening in their hotel suite, Simone played with Arya and reflected on how much their lives had changed in just a few days. Arya was thriving with regular meals, a safe place to sleep, and new toys to explore. And Simone felt like herself again, capable, valuable, and hopeful about the future. Her phone buzzed with a text from Gabriel. Great first day. See you tomorrow. Simone smiled as she typed back. Thank you for everything. See you tomorrow. What she didn't say, what she was just beginning to realize, was that somewhere between the grocery store and this moment, Gabriel Richardson had become much more than just her boss. He had become her hero. Isn't it amazing how one act of kindness can change everything? Don't forget to subscribe to see how Simone and Gabriel's story unfolds, and let us know in the comments. Have you ever had someone step in and change your life when you needed it most? 2 weeks into her new job, Simone felt like she was living someone else's life. The work came naturally to her. Organizing Gabriel's chaotic schedule was like creating lesson plans, just on a much larger scale. She found herself looking forward to each day, to the challenges and the satisfaction of solving problems. But more than that, she found herself looking forward to seeing Gabriel. He was nothing like she had expected a billionaire CEO to be. He remembered the names of the cleaning staff and asked about their families. He brought coffee for the security guards during their late shifts. He had instituted a policy that any employee could bring their lunch to his office once a month to discuss ideas or concerns directly with him. Most of my best innovations have come from people on the ground floor, he explained to Simone as they prepared for one of these lunch meetings. The people actually doing the work always know how to do it better. Simone was reviewing his afternoon schedule when her phone chimed with an alert from the daycare app. She opened it to see a video of Arya taking her first real steps, walking from Mrs. Patterson to another teacher with her arms outstretched for balance. Oh my God, Simone breathed, watching the video again. What is it? Gabriel asked, looking up from his computer. Arya just took her first steps. Simone's voice was thick with emotion. She's walking. Gabriel was around his desk in an instant. Can I see? Simone tilted her phone so he could watch the video. Gabriel's face lit up with wonder as he watched the little girl wobble across the room on unsteady legs. That's incredible, he said softly. She's growing up so fast. Something in his voice made Simone look at him more carefully. There was joy there, but also a sadness that tugged at her heart. You should come see her, Simone said impulsively. I mean, if you want to. She always gets excited when she sees you. Gabriel's face brightened. Really? You wouldn't mind? Of course not. You're... Simone paused, trying to find the right words. You're important to her. To both of us. They took the elevator down to the second floor together. The moment Arya saw them through the window, she abandoned her toys and toddled toward the door as fast as her little legs could carry her. Her face was pure sunshine as she reached for Gabriel through the glass. Hey there, beautiful girl, Gabriel said as Mrs. Patterson brought Arya to them. I hear you're walking now. Arya babbled something that sounded like gee, and reached for him. Gabriel looked at Simone questioningly. She's been saying that for days, Simone explained. I think it's her name for you. Gabriel's eyes misted over as he took Arya in his arms. Hello, Arya. Can you show me how you walk? Mrs. Patterson set Arya down, and the little girl immediately demonstrated her new skill, walking back and forth between Gabriel and Simone while they cheered her on. Other children and teachers gathered around to watch, everyone laughing and clapping as Arya showed off. She's going to be running by next week, Mrs. Patterson predicted. This one has places to go. As they rode the elevator back upstairs, Gabriel was quieter than usual. Are you okay? Simone asked. I keep thinking about what I would have missed if I hadn't met you too, Gabriel said. Her first steps, her first words, all these little moments that make life worth living. You wouldn't have missed them, Simone said gently. You would have had your own moments with your own family. Gabriel shook his head. I tried for years to build a family the traditional way. Marriage, house in the suburbs, the whole plan. But it never felt right. It never felt like this. Like what? Like home. That afternoon, Gabriel made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. He asked Simone to come with him to look at apartments. The hotel is fine for now, he explained as they drove through a quiet residential neighborhood, but Arya needs space to run and play. She needs a real home. Gabriel, I can afford my own place now, Simone protested. You don't need to. I know you can. But I was thinking. He pulled into the parking lot of a beautiful complex with a playground and a small lake. What if we found something close to each other? Arya loves spending time with me, and honestly, I love spending time with her. And you? Simone's heart skipped a beat at the way he said, and you? Close to each other? She repeated. This complex has some beautiful 2-bedroom units, Gabriel said, gesturing toward the buildings. And there's a penthouse available in the building right across the lake. We'd be neighbors, but we'd each have our own space. The apartment Gabriel showed her was perfect. Large windows flooded the space with natural light, and the second bedroom was just the right size for Arya. The kitchen was modern and functional, and the living room opened onto a small balcony that overlooked the playground. What do you think? Gabriel asked as Arya explored the empty rooms, her footsteps echoing on the hardwood floors. It's beautiful, Simone said honestly. But the rent is exactly what you'd pay for a much smaller place across town, Gabriel finished. I may have spoken to the landlord about keeping the rent reasonable for good tenants. Simone gave him a look. Gabriel Richardson, did you buy this building? Gabriel's guilty expression was answer enough. You bought an entire apartment building so we could be neighbors? I bought an investment property that happened to have a perfect apartment for you and Arya, Gabriel corrected. The fact that it's close to my penthouse is just convenient. Simone shook her head, but she was smiling. You're impossible. Is that a yes? Simone looked around the apartment again, imagining Arya's toys scattered on the living room floor, imagining cooking dinner in the beautiful kitchen, imagining the life they could build here. Yes, she said. It's a yes. Gabriel's smile was brighter than the afternoon sun streaming through the windows. Moving day came 2 weeks later. Gabriel had somehow arranged for professional movers, a truck full of furniture, and enough toys to stock a small store. Simone protested the excess, but Gabriel waved off her concerns. Every little girl needs toys, he said, watching Arya investigate a new rocking horse. Besides, I may have gone a little overboard at the toy store. I've never shopped for a child before. A little overboard? Simone gestured to the mountain of boxes marked Arya's room. Gabriel, there are enough toys here for 10 children. She can share with her friends when she starts having playdates. The casual way he said it, as if Arya's future social life was already part of his considerations, made Simone's heart flutter. By evening, the apartment was starting to feel like home. Arya had claimed the rocking horse as her new favorite thing and was riding it while Gabriel and Simone put together her new toddler bed. You know, Simone said as she sorted through instruction manuals, a month ago I was choosing between diapers and formula. Now I'm living in a beautiful apartment with more furniture than I know what to do with. Sometimes I feel like I'm going to wake up and this will all have been a dream. Gabriel looked up from the bed frame he was assembling. It's not a dream, Simone. You deserve all of this and more. Why? She asked. Why do I deserve it? Gabriel set down his screwdriver and looked at her seriously. Because you're an incredible mother who was doing everything right in impossible circumstances. Because you're intelligent and hardworking and kind. Because you took a chance on trusting me when you had every reason to be suspicious. He paused, then added more softly, because you and Arya have given me something I didn't even know I was missing. What's that? A reason to come home at night. That night, after Arya was asleep in her new bed, Simone stood on her balcony looking across the lake at Gabriel's building. She could see lights in his penthouse windows and wondered what he was doing. Was he reading? Working late? Looking across the lake at her building and thinking about them? Her phone buzzed with a text. Good night, neighbor. Sleep well. Simone smiled as she typed back. Good night, Gabriel. Thank you for everything. Thank you for letting me be part of your lives. As she got ready for bed, Simone reflected on how much had changed. A month ago, she had been at rock bottom, unable to afford basic necessities for her daughter. Now she had a good job, a beautiful home, and something that scared her more than poverty ever had. Feelings for a man who seemed too good to be true. But as she drifted off to sleep, listening to Arya's peaceful breathing through the baby monitor, Simone allowed herself to hope that maybe, just maybe, this was the beginning of the fairy tale she had never dared to dream of. Spring arrived with a burst of color around the lake, and with it came a new routine that felt as natural as breathing. Gabriel started joining Simone and Arya for breakfast most mornings before work, bringing fresh pastries from the bakery down the street and coffee that was far better than anything Simone could make in her small kitchen. You don't have to do this every day, Simone told him one Tuesday morning as he helped Arya with her cereal. I know I don't have to, Gabriel replied, wiping a smear of banana from Arya's cheek. I want to. Arya had started calling him Gabe now, though it came out more like Gabe, which made everyone smile. She would run to the window every morning around 7:30, pressing her nose to the glass and calling his name until she saw him coming across the courtyard. Gabe coming, Mama, she would announce as if Simone hadn't been watching for him too. At work, their professional relationship had evolved into something seamless. Simone anticipated Gabriel's needs before he voiced them, scheduled his days for maximum efficiency, and handled the constant stream of phone calls and emails with grace and competence. I don't know how I functioned without you, Gabriel told her one afternoon as she efficiently rearranged his schedule to accommodate an emergency board meeting. You functioned fine, Simone replied, though she was pleased by the compliment. You just function better now. We function better now, Gabriel corrected, and something in his tone made Simone look up from her computer. Their eyes met across the space between their desks, and for a moment, the air seemed charged with possibility. Then Gabriel's phone rang, breaking the spell, and they both returned to work as if nothing had happened. But something had happened. The boundaries between employer and employee, between neighbor and friend, were starting to blur in ways that both excited and terrified Simone. The shift became more apparent during their weekend outings. What had started as casual trips to the park with Arya had evolved into elaborate adventures. Gabriel seemed determined to show them everything the city had to offer: the zoo, the children's museum, the botanical gardens, the beach. You don't have to entertain us every weekend, Simone said as Gabriel loaded a cooler into his car for their trip to the lake. I'm not entertaining you, Gabriel replied. I'm spending time with my two favorite people. At the lake, Gabriel was surprisingly good with Arya. He helped her build sandcastles, pushed her on the swings at the playground, and carried her on his shoulders when she got tired. Watching them together, Simone felt something shift in her chest, a recognition of how perfectly they fit together as a family. She's getting attached to you, Simone observed as they watched Arya chase seagulls along the water's edge. Is that a problem? Gabriel asked, his voice carefully neutral. I don't know, Simone admitted. What happens if this doesn't work out? If you decide you want a different kind of life? Gabriel turned to face her fully. Simone, I need you to understand something. I'm not playing house here. I'm not going through some kind of phase. This isn't temporary for me. How can you be sure? Because for the first time in my adult life, I wake up excited about the day ahead. Because I find myself making decisions based on what's best for you and Arya, not just what's best for business. Because when I imagine my future, you're both in it. Simone's heart raced at his words. Gabriel? I know this is complicated, Gabriel continued. I know we started as boss and employee, and I know there's a power imbalance that makes this difficult to navigate. But I also know that what I feel for you and Arya is real. Before Simone could respond, Arya came running back to them, her chubby legs carrying her as fast as they could go. Gabe, look. She held up a perfect seashell, her face glowing with excitement. That's beautiful, sweetheart, Gabriel said, scooping her up. Should we take it home and put it on your shelf with your other treasures? Yes. Mama, look. Arya thrust the shell toward Simone. It's perfect, baby girl, Simone said, but her eyes were on Gabriel's face as he examined the shell with Arya as if it were the most precious thing in the world. That evening, after Arya was in bed, Gabriel stayed for dinner. It was becoming their routine weekend meals together, quiet conversations after Arya's bedtime, the comfortable domesticity of cleaning up the kitchen together. Can I ask you something? Simone said as Gabriel dried dishes while she washed. Anything. Do you ever regret it? Helping us that day in the store? All of this. She gestured around the apartment. Gabriel set down the dish towel and turned to face her. Simone, meeting you and Arya was the best thing that ever happened to me. The only thing I regret is that it took me 42 years to find you. You really mean that? I've never meant anything more in my life. Simone felt tears prick her eyes. I'm scared, Gabriel. Of what? Of how much I care about you. Of how much Arya depends on you. Of what it would do to us if we lost you. Gabriel stepped closer, reaching up to touch her face gently. You're not going to lose me, Simone. I'm not going anywhere. You can't promise that. Nobody can promise that. You're right, Gabriel said softly. Life doesn't come with guarantees. But I can promise you that whatever time I have, I want to spend it with you and Arya. I can promise you that I will never willingly walk away from what we have. Simone leaned into his touch, allowing herself to believe for just a moment that this beautiful life they were building could last forever. I care about you too, she whispered. More than I should, more than is probably smart. Caring about someone is never not smart, Gabriel said. It's the only thing that makes life worth living. They stood there in her kitchen, surrounded by the detritus of their shared meal, and Simone felt the last of her walls crumble. Whatever happened next, she was all in. Stay tonight, she said impulsively, then blushed at her own boldness. I mean, stay for a movie? Or just to talk? You don't have to go back to that big empty penthouse. Gabriel's smile was gentle and warm. I'd love to stay. They settled on the couch with mugs of tea, Simone curled against Gabriel's side as they watched an old romantic comedy. It felt natural, right, as if they had been doing this for years instead of weeks. Gabriel? Simone said during a particularly cheesy romantic scene. Thank you for being patient with me. For letting me figure this out at my own pace. Gabriel pressed a kiss to the top of her head. Thank you for trusting me enough to let me try. As the credits rolled, they remained on the couch, neither wanting to break the spell of the evening. Outside, the lake reflected the lights from Gabriel's building, and Simone realized that somewhere between the grocery store and this moment, she had fallen completely, irrevocably in love with Gabriel Richardson. The thought should have terrified her. Instead, it filled her with a peace she hadn't felt since before Arya was born. Maybe, just maybe, they were going to be okay. Summer brought lazy afternoons by the lake and evening barbecues on Gabriel's expansive penthouse terrace. Arya had learned to swim with Gabriel's patient instruction, her little arms cutting through the water with determination while he called out encouragement from the side of the pool. She's fearless, Gabriel observed as Arya jumped off the diving board for the 10th time, trusting completely that he would be there to catch her. She gets that from you, Simone said, watching from her lounge chair. Before we met you, she was so cautious about everything. Now she acts like the whole world is safe. The whole world should be safe for her, Gabriel replied, lifting Arya out of the water and wrapping her in a fluffy towel. Every child should feel that secure. It was moments like these that reminded Simone how seamlessly Gabriel had become part of their family. He knew that Arya liked her sandwiches cut into triangles, that she was afraid of the vacuum cleaner but loved the washing machine, that she had to have her stuffed elephant at bedtime or she wouldn't sleep. More than that, he had started talking about the future as if they were planning it together. I was thinking, Gabriel said one evening as they sat on his terrace watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of pink and gold, about converting one of the spare bedrooms in the penthouse into a playroom for Arya. Somewhere she can leave her toys out, maybe set up that train set we saw at the store. Simone smiled. Gabriel, she has plenty of space in our apartment for toys. I know, but she spends so much time here on weekends. And when winter comes, It would be nice to have somewhere for her to run around when it's too cold to go outside. The casual way he planned for winter, for seasons they hadn't reached yet, made Simone's heart flutter. He was thinking long-term, building a life that included them in every detail. Besides, Gabriel continued, settling Arya more comfortably on his lap as she dozed against his chest, I've been thinking about asking my lawyer to draw up some papers. What kind of papers? Simone asked, though something in Gabriel's tone made her suspect she already knew. Guardianship papers. Nothing official, nothing that would change your rights as her mother. But something that would ensure that if anything ever happened to you, Arya would be taken care of. That she'd stay with me instead of going into the system. Simone felt her breath catch. Gabriel, that's too much. Gabriel asked quickly. I'm sorry, I know it's presumptuous. I can't bear the thought of her ending up with strangers who don't know that she needs her elephant to sleep, or that she's allergic to strawberries, or that she laughs when you sing off-key. It's not too much, Simone said softly. It's perfect. You're perfect. Gabriel shifted Arya carefully and reached for Simone's hand. I love her, Simone. I love her like she's my own daughter. I know that might sound crazy since I've only known her for a few months, but it doesn't sound crazy, Simone interrupted. Because she loves you like you're her father. They sat in comfortable silence as the sky darkened and the first stars appeared. Arya slept peacefully between them, completely secure in their love and protection. Can I tell you something? Simone said eventually. Anything. Sometimes I watch you with her and I forget that you're not her biological father. You're so natural with her, so patient and loving. She's never known that kind of stability with a man. Gabriel's expression grew serious. What about her biological father? It was a conversation they had never had, and Simone realized she had been avoiding it because she was afraid Gabriel would judge her. He left when I told him I was pregnant, Simone said quietly. We were young in college. He said he wasn't ready to be a father, and that was the last I heard from him. His loss, Gabriel said firmly. His incredible, unforgivable loss. I used to worry that Arya would grow up missing something, not having a father figure. But watching you with her. Simone trailed off, her emotions too big for words. She's not missing anything, Gabriel said. She has everything she needs right here. The next week, Gabriel surprised them both with an announcement at breakfast. I've been thinking about taking some time off, he said as he helped Arya with her yogurt. Maybe a week or two. We could take a vacation, just the three of us. Simone nearly choked on her coffee. Gabriel, you haven't taken a vacation in 3 years. Your last assistant told me you once worked through Christmas because you forgot it was a holiday. Exactly. I'm overdue. And I can't think of anything I'd rather do than spend uninterrupted time with my 2 favorite girls. Where would we go? Simone asked, already feeling excited at the prospect. Wherever you want. Beach, mountains, city, countryside. As long as we're together, I don't care. Arya clapped her hands at the word vacation, even though she clearly had no idea what it meant. Beach, she announced. Want beach? Beach it is, Gabriel said solemnly. The beach it is. They spent the next week planning their trip to a family resort on the coast. Gabriel booked a suite with connecting rooms, researched child-friendly restaurants, and somehow managed to pack enough toys and activities to keep Arya entertained for a month, let alone a week. The vacation was everything Simone had dreamed of and more. They built sandcastles and collected shells, took long walks along the water's edge, and spent lazy afternoons by the pool while Arya napped in the shade. In the evenings, they had dinner on the resort's terrace while Arya played with other children on the playground nearby. This is what normal families do, isn't it? Simone said one evening as they watched Arya make friends with a little boy her age. This is what our family does, Gabriel corrected. We're not trying to be normal. We're trying to be happy. Are we? Simone asked. Happy? Gabriel turned to look at her, his gray eyes serious and warm. I've never been happier in my life. Have you? Simone really thought about it. A year ago, she had been struggling to keep her head above water, working a job she loved but that barely paid the bills, worried constantly about providing for Arya. 6 months ago, she had been homeless and desperate. Now she had a job she loved, a beautiful home, financial security, and most importantly, she had Gabriel. She had this incredible man who loved her daughter as if she were his own, who made them both feel safe and cherished, who had given them not just material security but emotional stability. Yes, she said finally. I've never been happier either. That night, after Arya was asleep in her bed, Gabriel and Simone sat on the balcony of their suite watching the waves crash against the shore. Simone, Gabriel said quietly, there's something I need to tell you. Something in his tone made her heart skip. What is it? Gabriel took her hand, his thumb tracing circles on her palm. I'm in love with you. I've been in love with you for months, but I didn't want to pressure you or make things complicated. But being here with you and Arya, seeing how perfect we are together, I can't keep it to myself anymore. Simone felt tears spring to her eyes. Gabriel? You don't have to say anything back, Gabriel said quickly. I just needed you to know. I needed you to know that this isn't just about helping you or being a good neighbor or even about how much I love Arya. I'm in love with you, Simone Walker. I'm in love with your strength and your kindness and your laugh and the way you sing off-key in the shower when you think no one can hear you. Simone laughed through her tears. You can hear me singing? The walls aren't that thick, Gabriel admitted with a grin. And for the record, I love your off-key singing. I love everything about you. Simone leaned forward and kissed him, soft and sweet and full of all the emotions she hadn't been brave enough to voice. I love you too, she whispered against his lips. I love you so much it scares me. Don't be scared, Gabriel murmured, pulling her closer. We're going to be okay. All three of us are going to be okay. As they held each other under the star-filled sky, listening to the rhythm of the waves and the sound of Arya's peaceful breathing through the open door, Simone finally allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, fairy tales could come true. Even for broke single mothers who had once counted pennies for diapers. Especially for them. The weeks following their beach vacation passed in a golden haze of new love and growing certainty. Gabriel and Simone had crossed the line from friendship to romance, but they had done it so gradually, so naturally, that it felt like the most inevitable thing in the world. Their first official date was a quiet dinner at a small Italian restaurant after Arya was asleep at the babysitter's. Gabriel had been nervous, which Simone found endearing. This confident, successful man reduced to fidgeting with his napkin because he wanted their first real date to be perfect. You know, Simone said as they shared tiramisu for dessert, this feels both like our first date and like we've been dating for months. That's because we have been dating for months, Gabriel replied. We just weren't calling it that. All those breakfasts, all those dinners, all those weekends at the park were dates. They were all dates. I was just too scared to make it official. Simone reached across the table to take his hand. What were you scared of? Gabriel was quiet for a moment, considering his answer. I was scared that if I pushed too hard, too fast, you'd disappear. You and Arya both. I was scared that I'd become just another man who wanted to control your life instead of enhance it. And now I know that what we have is real. What we have is solid. What we have is worth everything. Their relationship deepened slowly and sweetly. Gabriel would arrive early for their morning breakfast just to steal a few quiet moments with Simone before Arya woke up. They would hold hands during their evening walks around the lake, talking about everything and nothing while Arya chased fireflies in the gathering dusk. At work, they maintained their professional boundaries, but even their colleagues began to notice the change in Gabriel. He smiled more, laughed more, and had started leaving the office at reasonable hours instead of working until midnight. Whatever's making you happy, boss, keep it up, said Marcus Williams, Gabriel's head of development, during a team meeting. You're like a different person. Gabriel caught Simone's eye across the conference room and smiled. I'm exactly the same person. I just remember now what I'm working for. The moment that changed everything came on a rainy Thursday evening in late August. Gabriel had come for dinner, as had become their custom, and was helping Arya with a puzzle while Simone finished cooking. Mama, Arya said suddenly, looking up from her puzzle pieces. Gabe is my daddy now? The question hung in the air like a delicate soap bubble. Simone felt her heart stop, then start again in double time. Gabriel went very still, his hand frozen over a puzzle piece. What makes you ask that, baby? Simone managed, her voice carefully neutral. Arya tilted her head with the serious consideration that only toddlers could muster. Tommy at daycare says daddies live with mommies and play with little girls and read stories. Gabe does that. Simone looked at Gabriel, who was watching Arya with an expression of such tender longing that it made her chest ache. Not all families are the same, sweetheart, Simone said gently. Some families have mommies and daddies, some have just mommies, some have just daddies, some have grandparents or aunts and uncles. What makes a family is people who love each other and take care of each other. But do you love Gabe? Arya asked with the directness that only children possess. Yes, Simone said without hesitation. I love Gabe very much. And Gabe loves you? Gabriel found his voice. Yes, sweetheart. I love your mama very much. And I love you very much too. Arya considered this with the gravity of a judge. Then we're a family. Yes, Gabriel said softly. We're a family. That night, after Arya was in bed, Gabriel and Simone sat on her couch talking about the conversation. She's not wrong, Gabriel said. We are a family, aren't we? Yes, Simone agreed. We are. I want to make it official, Gabriel said suddenly. Not just the guardianship papers. All of it. Simone's heart began to race. Gabriel? I want to marry you, Simone. I want to adopt Arya. I want us to be a family not just in our hearts but in the eyes of the law. I want the whole world to know that you're mine and I'm yours and Arya is ours. You want to adopt her? I want to be her father in every way that matters. I want to be the one she calls when she needs help with homework, the one who walks her down the aisle someday, the one who teaches her to drive and scares away unsuitable boyfriends and embarrasses her at graduation. Simone felt tears streaming down her cheeks. She'd love that. She'd love having you as her official dad. And what about you? Gabriel asked, moving closer to her on the couch. Would you love having me as your official husband? Gabriel Richardson, Simone said through her tears, are you proposing to me on my couch in my pajamas? Gabriel laughed and slid off the couch onto one knee. Actually, I was planning to do this properly. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. I've been carrying this around for 2 weeks, waiting for the perfect moment. But I'm realizing that every moment with you is perfect. Simone gasped as he opened the box to reveal a stunning but understated diamond ring. Simone Walker, Gabriel said, his voice shaking slightly with emotion. You and Arya have given me a life I never dared to dream of. You've made me a better man, a happier man, a man who finally understands what love really means. Will you marry me? Will you let me be your husband and Arya's father? Will you let me spend the rest of my life loving you both? Yes, Simone whispered. Yes, yes, yes. Gabriel slipped the ring onto her finger with trembling hands, then pulled her down to the floor with him, kissing her with all the love and joy and relief in his heart. I love you, he murmured against her lips. I love you both so much. We love you too, Simone replied. We love you too. The next morning, Arya woke to find Gabriel making pancakes in their kitchen, which was normal, but with her mother wearing a sparkly ring, which was new and exciting. What's that, Mama? Arya asked, pointing to the ring. It's an engagement ring, baby, Simone explained. It means that Gabe and I are going to get married. Arya's face lit up like Christmas morning. Married like in the princess movies? Exactly like in the princess movies, Gabriel confirmed, scooping her up for a hug. And you're going to be our flower girl. What's a flower girl? The most important job at a wedding, Simone said. You get to wear a beautiful dress and throw flower petals and help Mama and Gabe get married. Arya clapped her hands in excitement. Can I have a princess dress? The most beautiful princess dress we can find, Gabriel promised. That evening, Gabriel called his lawyer to start the adoption paperwork. The next week, they met with a wedding planner. The week after that, they started looking at houses something bigger than Simone's apartment, with a yard for Arya to play in and space for the family they hoped to grow. Can you believe how far they've come? From a desperate moment in a grocery store to engagement and adoption papers? Don't forget to subscribe to see their wedding and what challenges still await this beautiful family. I still can't believe this is real, Simone confessed to Gabriel one evening as they walked around the lake, Arya sleeping in her stroller after a busy day of wedding planning. What part can't you believe? All of it. The ring, the wedding plans, the house hunting, the adoption. 6 months ago I was sleeping in my car. Now I'm planning a wedding to the most wonderful man in the world. Gabriel stopped walking and turned to face her. 6 months ago I was a workaholic who had given up on ever having a family. Now I'm about to marry the most incredible woman I've ever met and adopt the most amazing little girl in the world. We saved each other, didn't we? We found each other, Gabriel corrected. And we're never letting go. As they resumed their walk, Simone reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. Love, she had learned, didn't always come in the package you expected. Sometimes it came in the form of a stranger in a grocery store who refused to let you choose between diapers and formula. Sometimes it came disguised as a job offer or as neighborly kindness or as simple human decency. But however it came, whenever it came, love had the power to transform everything. It could turn desperation into hope, loneliness into family, and two broken people into something whole and beautiful and strong. Their love story had begun with Simone's last dollar and Gabriel's first act of kindness. Where it would lead she couldn't say for certain. But she knew with absolute certainty that wherever they went from here, they would go together. 3 weeks before their planned wedding, Gabriel's phone rang at 2 in the morning. The call that would test everything they had built together came from his head of security with news that made his blood run cold. "We've got a problem, Mr. Richardson. Someone's been digging into your personal life. Deep digging. They know about Simone, about Aria, about the engagement." Gabriel sat up in bed, instantly alert. "Who?" "We're still investigating, but it looks like it might be connected to the Hartwell Group. They're still bitter about losing that government contract to us last year." Gabriel's jaw tightened. Marcus Hartwell was his biggest business rival, a man who had built his empire on the destruction of others. If Hartwell was targeting Simone and Aria, what kind of information do they have? Everything. Her eviction, the nights in the car where you met, how you hired her. They're building a narrative. Gabriel was already getting dressed. What kind of narrative? That you're using her. That the whole relationship is fake, designed to improve your public image. That you're planning to dump her after the wedding for the publicity benefit. That's insane. Insane but believable to people who don't know you. They're also suggesting that Ms. Walker is a gold digger who targeted you deliberately. Gabriel felt rage burn in his chest. They're going after Simone? Boss, they're going after all of you. They have photos of Aria, information about the daycare, details about where you live. If they release this information. They won't, Gabriel said firmly. Because I'm going to stop them. But stopping Hartwell proved more complicated than Gabriel had anticipated. By the time he reached his office, the first story had already been posted on a gossip website known for its willingness to publish unverified rumors about wealthy businesspeople. The headline made his stomach turn. Tech billionaire's fake romance. Is Gabriel Richardson's fairy tale engagement just a PR stunt? The article was vicious and detailed. It painted Simone as a calculating opportunist who had somehow maneuvered Gabriel into proposing. It suggested that Aria wasn't even Simone's biological daughter but a borrowed child used to manipulate Gabriel's emotions. It questioned every aspect of their relationship, twisting their beautiful love story into something ugly and false. Gabriel called his lawyer, his publicist, and his security team. He threatened lawsuits, demanded retractions, and offered rewards for information about who was feeding Hartwell's people information. But he knew that once something was on the internet, it took on a life of its own. The story was picked up by larger publications within hours. Gabriel's phone didn't stop ringing as reporters sought comment on his fake engagement and Simone's gold-digging schemes. At the office, Simone noticed the change in atmosphere immediately. Conversations stopped when she walked into rooms. People avoided eye contact. Her computer was flooded with emails from reporters requesting interviews. "Gabriel," she said, knocking on his office door at noon, "what's going on? People are looking at me like I've grown a second head." Gabriel's face was gray with stress and fury. "Sit down, Simone. There's something you need to see." He showed her the articles, watched her face crumble as she read the lies about herself and Aria. When she finished, she was quiet for a long moment. "They're saying I used Aria to manipulate you," she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's all lies, Simone. You know it's lies, I know it's lies, everyone who knows us knows it's lies. But it's out there now. People are reading this and believing it." Gabriel came around his desk and knelt beside her chair. "Simone, look at me. This changes nothing between us. Nothing. How can you say that? They're calling me a gold digger. They're saying our entire relationship is fake. They're saying terrible things about Aria. And they're wrong about everything. Simone, I love you. I love Aria. I want to marry you and spend the rest of my life with you. Some stranger's opinion of our relationship doesn't change that." But Simone was already shaking her head. "Gabriel, this is your life. Your reputation. Your business. I can't let my past destroy everything you've worked for. Your past isn't destroying anything. Marcus Hartwell is trying to destroy my happiness because he can't stand that I beat him in business. Don't let him win by believing his lies." That evening things got worse. Paparazzi had found their apartment complex and were camped outside, taking photos of anyone who entered or left. The daycare center had to increase security to keep reporters away from the children. Aria couldn't play outside because of the cameras. "Mama scared?" Aria asked that night as Simone tucked her into bed, sensing the tension that filled their home. "Mama's not scared, baby," Simone lied. "Everything's going to be okay." But she wasn't sure she believed it herself. Gabriel arrived an hour later, having fought his way through the crowd of reporters outside. His face was grim as he settled on the couch beside Simone. "My lawyers think they can get restraining orders against the photographers," he said. "And my security team has identified the source of most of the leaked information. It's definitely Hartwell. Gabriel, Simone said quietly, maybe we should postpone the wedding. Gabriel's entire body went rigid. What? Just until this dies down. Until things get back to normal. No. Gabriel's voice was firm. Absolutely not. We are not postponing our wedding because of Marcus Hartwell. But if we wait a few months will turn into a year, and a year will turn into forever. Simone, if we let them drive us apart now, they win. Is that what you want? I want what's best for you, Simone said, tears streaming down her cheeks. And I'm starting to think that's not me. Gabriel took her face in his hands, forcing her to look at him. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. You and Arya both. You are the only thing that makes my life worth living. How can you say that when this is what being with me brings you? Scandal and lies and people attacking your character. Because I know who you are. I know who I am. I know what we have together. And no amount of gossip or lies or fake stories can change that. Simone wanted to believe him, but the weight of the day's revelations was crushing. What if they're right though? What if I did target you? What if I saw you in that store and somehow manipulated the situation? Gabriel stared at her in disbelief. Simone, you couldn't even afford diapers. You think you had the resources to orchestrate some elaborate scheme to trap a billionaire. But what if? Stop. Gabriel's voice was sharper than she had ever heard it. Stop letting them get in your head. Stop doubting what we have. Stop believing their lies over your own experience. But the doubt had taken root, and Simone couldn't shake it. What if she had somehow manipulated the situation? What if her gratitude had been mistaken for love? What if Gabriel was only with her out of some misguided sense of obligation? The questions tormented her through a sleepless night, and by morning she had made a decision that broke her heart but felt necessary. I think we should take a break, she told Gabriel when he arrived for breakfast, though she hadn't cooked anything and Arya was still in her pajamas. Gabriel's face went pale. What kind of break? I think you should go back to your penthouse. I think we should stop spending so much time together. Just until this all blows over and we can think clearly. I am thinking clearly, Gabriel said desperately. Simone, please don't do this. Don't let them win. I'm not letting them win. I'm protecting you. You're breaking up with me. I'm giving you space to decide if this is really what you want. If I'm really what you want. Gabriel looked like she had physically struck him. Simone, I have never been more certain of anything in my life. You are what I want. You and Arya are my family. But Simone had already made up her mind. Please, Gabriel. Just, please go. Gabriel stood there for a long moment, looking at the woman he loved more than life itself, the woman who was pushing him away to protect him from her own past. This isn't over, he said finally. I'm not giving up on us, Simone. Even if you are. After he left, Simone collapsed on her couch and cried until she had no tears left. She had done the right thing, she told herself. She had protected Gabriel from the scandal that would follow her for the rest of her life. So why did doing the right thing feel like dying? The next 3 days were the longest of Gabriel's life. He threw himself into work, staying at the office until midnight, but nothing could distract him from the emptiness that had settled in his chest where his heart used to be. His temporary assistant, since Simone had asked for time off, tried to manage his schedule, but she wasn't Simone. She didn't know that he needed coffee before his 9 o'clock meetings or that he liked to review contracts in the afternoon when his concentration was sharpest. She didn't smile at him when he made bad jokes or remind him to eat lunch or ask about his day with genuine interest. She wasn't the woman he loved, and every moment at work reminded him of what he had lost. On Thursday evening, Gabriel's lawyer called with news that should have been good but felt hollow. We got them, James Morrison said triumphantly. Hartwell's people made a mistake. They hacked into your company's email system to get information about Simone. That's a federal crime. The FBI is getting involved. Good, Gabriel said flatly. Good? Gabriel, this is better than good. Hartwell is looking at serious jail time. His company is going to be destroyed. Every story they planted about you and Simone will be exposed as fake. It doesn't matter now. What do you mean it doesn't matter? This proves everything was a lie. This clears your name completely. My name was never the problem, James. The problem is that the woman I love is so convinced she's bad for me that she won't let me love her. Gabriel hung up and stared out his office window at the lights of the city below. Somewhere out there, Simone was probably putting Arya to bed, reading her favorite story about the brave little elephant. Somewhere out there, his family was going through their evening routine without him. The thought was unbearable. Meanwhile, in her apartment, Simone was discovering that protecting Gabriel from scandal was more painful than any scandal could have been. Arya kept asking for Gabe, and Simone had run out of explanations for why he wasn't coming for breakfast anymore. Gabe's sick. Arya asked for the 100th time as Simone tried to interest her in dinner. No, baby. Gabe's not sick. Gabe mad at Arya? No, sweetheart. Gabe loves you very much. He's just busy right now. But Arya was 2 years old, not stupid. She knew something was wrong and her little heart was breaking just like her mother's. That night, after Arya finally fell asleep, Simone sat on her balcony looking across the lake at Gabriel's building. His lights were off. He was working late again, probably burying himself in the office to avoid the empty penthouse that had once been filled with their laughter. She had done this. She had taken their happiness and thrown it away because she was scared of what other people might think. She had let strangers' opinions matter more than Gabriel's love. Her phone buzzed with a text from her best friend from college. Saw the news about the hacking scandal. Those articles about you were all fake? Girl, you better get your man back before I fly out there and knock some sense into you myself. Simone stared at the message. What hacking scandal? She opened her laptop and searched for Gabriel's name. The first headline made her gasp. Tech mogul's rival arrested in corporate espionage scheme. The story laid out everything: how Marcus Hartwell had hired hackers to steal information from Gabriel's company servers, how they had used that information to fabricate stories about Gabriel and Simone's relationship, how the FBI had traced the whole conspiracy back to Hartwell himself. Every lie about their relationship was being exposed. Every cruel rumor was being debunked. Gabriel's reputation was not only intact but enhanced by the revelation that he had been the victim of a deliberate smear campaign. And Simone had thrown away their happiness for nothing. The next morning, Simone called in sick to work and spent the day researching everything she could about the scandal. She read article after article detailing Hartwell's crimes, saw interview after interview with people defending Gabriel's character. She also saw the photos. Someone had taken pictures of Gabriel leaving the office every night that week, and he looked terrible. His face was gaunt, his clothes wrinkled, his usually perfect hair disheveled. He looked like a man who had lost everything that mattered to him. Because he had. Because she had taken it away from him. That evening, Simone made a decision. She arranged for Mrs. Patterson from the daycare to watch Arya, put on her best dress, and drove to Gabriel's office building. The security guard recognized her and let her up without question. The elevator ride to the 28th floor felt like the longest of her life. Gabriel's office door was open and she could see him at his desk, still in his suit despite the late hour, staring at his computer screen without really seeing it. "Gabriel?" she said softly from the doorway. He looked up, and the hope that flooded his face nearly brought her to her knees. "Simone." He stood up so quickly he knocked over his coffee cup. "What are you doing here?" "I saw the news. About Hartwell, about the hacking, about all of it." She stepped into his office, her heart pounding. "I'm so sorry, Gabriel. I'm so sorry." "You don't have anything to be sorry for." "Yes, I do. I let them win. I let them destroy what we had because I was scared and stupid and I believed their lies instead of trusting your love." Gabriel came around his desk but stopped a few feet away from her, as if he was afraid she might disappear again. "I should have fought harder," he said. "I should have made you listen. You shouldn't have had to fight for me at all. I should have stood by you. I should have trusted what we had." They stared at each other across the space of his office, both afraid to hope, both desperate to bridge the gap between them. "Gabriel," Simone said, her voice breaking, "I love you. I love you so much that it scares me, and when those articles came out, I convinced myself that the only way to protect you was to push you away. But I was wrong. I was so wrong. Simone. I know I hurt you. I know I broke your trust. But if you'll let me, I want to spend the rest of my life making it up to you. I want to marry you and build a life with you and never, ever let anyone make me doubt us again." Gabriel closed the distance between them in 3 long strides, pulling her into his arms and holding her so tightly she could barely breathe. "I thought I'd lost you," he whispered into her hair. "I thought I'd lost both of you." "Never," Simone said, clinging to him. "You'll never lose us. We're yours, Gabriel. We've been yours since that first day in the grocery store." Gabriel pulled back to look at her face, his gray eyes bright with unshed tears. "Are you sure? Are you really sure this time? Because I can't go through losing you again." "I'm sure. I'm more sure of this than I've ever been of anything. You are my family, Gabriel Richardson. You are Arya's father and my future husband and the love of my life. And if anyone has a problem with that, they can deal with me. Gabriel laughed through his tears and kissed her with all the love and relief and hope in his heart. "Does this mean the wedding is back on?" he asked when they finally broke apart. "The wedding is back on. But first, I need to go home and tell Arya that her daddy is coming back." "Her daddy never left," Gabriel said softly. "Her daddy was just waiting for her mama to remember that love is stronger than fear." As they left the office together, hand in hand, Simone realized that she had learned something important over the past few days. Love wasn't just about the good times, the easy moments, the fairy tale romance. Love was about standing together when the world tried to tear you apart. It was about choosing each other again and again even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. They had been tested and they had passed. Not perfectly, not without pain, but they had found their way back to each other. And this time, nothing would ever drive them apart again. 6 months later, Simone stood in the bridal suite of the most beautiful venue in the city, watching her reflection in the full-length mirror as her wedding dress was adjusted for the final time. The dress was everything she had dreamed of, elegant and simple, with delicate lace sleeves and a train that would photograph beautifully as she walked down the aisle. But the dress wasn't what made her glow with happiness. It was the knowledge that in 30 minutes she would marry the love of her life and officially become a family with Gabriel and Arya. "Mama, you look like a princess," Arya announced from her perch on the sofa, where she was carefully protecting her own flower girl dress from wrinkles. "Thank you, baby girl. You look like a princess too." Arya's dress was pink tulle with sparkles, exactly what she had requested. She had been practicing walking down the aisle for weeks, clutching her basket of rose petals with the seriousness of someone who knew she had the most important job at the wedding. "Is it time yet?" Arya asked for the 10th time in 5 minutes. "Almost, sweetheart. Just a few more minutes." Simone's maid of honor, her college roommate who had flown in from across the country, finished adjusting the veil and stepped back with a satisfied smile. "Perfect," she declared. "Gabriel is going to fall over when he sees you." Simone hoped not literally, though she wouldn't put it past him. He had been nervous all week, double-checking every detail of the wedding as if he was afraid something would go wrong at the last minute. "Are you ready for this?" her friend asked. Simone thought about the question seriously. Was she ready to marry Gabriel? Was she ready to officially become Arya's stepmother? Was she ready for the life they were about to build together? "Yes," she said with absolute certainty. "I've never been more ready for anything in my life." A knock on the door interrupted her thoughts. "5 minutes, ladies." Simone's heart began to race with excitement rather than nerves. In 5 minutes, she would walk down the aisle to the man who had saved her life in more ways than one. In 5 minutes, their fairy tale would officially begin. Downstairs in the groom's suite, Gabriel was pacing back and forth while his best man tried to get him to sit still. "You're going to wear a hole in the carpet," his friend observed. "And you're making me nervous just watching you." "Sorry," Gabriel said, though he didn't stop pacing. "I just want everything to be perfect for her." "Everything is perfect. The flowers are perfect, the music is perfect, the venue is perfect. And most importantly, you two are perfect for each other." Gabriel smiled at that. They were perfect for each other, weren't they? They had weathered scandal and doubt and come out stronger on the other side. They had built something real and lasting and beautiful. "You know what the best part is?" Gabriel said, finally sitting down. "I get to adopt Arya today too." The adoption papers had been finalized that morning, in a brief ceremony at the courthouse with just the 3 of them present. Arya was now officially Arya Richardson, and Gabriel was officially her father in the eyes of the law. "She's lucky to have you," his friend said. "I'm the lucky one. I get to be part of their family." Another knock on the door. "Time to go, gentlemen." Gabriel stood up, straightened his tie, and walked toward the most important moment of his life. The ceremony was held in the garden of a historic mansion, with white roses and fairy lights creating a magical atmosphere as the sun set behind the trees. Gabriel waited at the altar with the officiant, his heart pounding as the string quartet began to play. First came Arya, walking slowly down the aisle with intense concentration, dropping rose petals one by one as she had practiced. When she reached the altar, she beamed at Gabriel and whispered loudly enough for everyone to hear, "I did it, Daddy." Gabriel's eyes filled with tears at the word, "Daddy," and he whispered back, "You did perfect, Princess." Then the music changed and Simone appeared at the back of the aisle. Gabriel felt his breath catch in his throat. She was radiant, glowing with happiness as she walked toward him with slow, measured steps. Her smile was bright enough to power the entire city, and her eyes never left his face. When she reached him, Gabriel took her hands and forgot that there were 200 people watching them. In that moment there was only Simone, only love, only the promise of forever. "You look incredible," he whispered. "So do you," she whispered back. The ceremony was a blur of beautiful words about love and commitment and family. They exchanged vows they had written themselves, promising to love each other through whatever challenges life might bring. They exchanged rings with hands that shook slightly from emotion. And when the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Gabriel kissed Simone with all the love in his heart while Arya cheered and their guests applauded. "Ladies and gentlemen," the officiant announced, "I present to you Mr. and Mrs. Richardson and their daughter Arya." As they walked back down the aisle together, Arya between them holding both their hands, Simone felt like her heart might burst from happiness. She had everything she had ever dreamed of and more. The reception was everything they had wanted, elegant but warm, formal but fun. Gabriel danced with Simone to their first song as husband and wife, then with Arya to a silly children's song that made everyone laugh. Simone danced with Arya to "A Dream Is a Wish Your Heart Makes," while Gabriel watched with tears in his eyes. During the father-daughter dance, Arya whispered to Gabriel, "Are you really my daddy forever now?" "Forever and always, princess," Gabriel whispered back. "Nothing will ever change that." As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, Simone found a quiet moment with Gabriel on the terrace overlooking the garden. "Happy?" Gabriel asked, pulling her close. "Happier than I knew was possible," Simone replied. "How did we get so lucky?" Gabriel considered the question. "I don't think it was luck. I think it was love. Love brought us together, love helped us overcome the obstacles, and love is going to carry us through whatever comes next." "What do you think comes next?" Gabriel smiled and pulled something from his jacket pocket, a small wrapped gift. "What's this?" Simone asked. "Open it and see." Inside the box was a key, ornate and beautiful, clearly antique. "It's the key to our new house," Gabriel explained. "The one with the big backyard for Arya to play in, and the home office where you can work when you start your own business, and the nursery that's just waiting for a little brother or sister for Arya." Simone's eyes widened. "Gabriel, are you saying?" "I'm saying that our fairy tale is just beginning, Mrs. Richardson. I'm saying that the best is yet to come." As if summoned by their conversation about her, Arya appeared on the terrace, having escaped from her babysitter. "Mama, Daddy, can we go home now? I'm tired." Gabriel scooped her up and Simone slipped her arm through his. Together they walked toward their car, toward their new life, toward whatever adventures awaited the Richardson family. "Daddy?" Arya said sleepily as Gabriel buckled her into her car seat. "Yes, princess? Will you make pancakes tomorrow?" Gabriel laughed. "I'll make pancakes every day for the rest of your life if you want me to." "I want that," Arya said seriously. "I want pancakes forever." "Then pancakes forever it is." As they drove through the city toward their new home, Simone reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. A year ago, she had been a desperate single mother counting pennies for diapers. Now she was a wife and entrepreneur with a beautiful home, a loving husband, and a daughter who would never want for anything. But more than the material security, more than the luxury and comfort, what filled her heart was the love. Gabriel's unwavering devotion, Arya's innocent joy, the sense of belonging that came from being part of a real family. "Gabriel?" she said as they pulled into the driveway of their new house. "Yes, my love?" "Thank you." "For what?" "For seeing me that day in the grocery store. For refusing to let me choose between diapers and formula. For changing our lives with one simple act of kindness." Gabriel parked the car and turned to look at her, his gray eyes soft with love. "Thank you for letting me love you," he said. "Thank you for trusting me with your heart and with Arya's future. Thank you for making me a husband and a father and a better man than I ever thought I could be." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching their daughter sleep peacefully in her car seat, both marveling at how perfectly their lives had come together. "Ready to go home, Mrs. Richardson?" Gabriel asked. "Ready," Simone replied. As they carried their sleeping daughter into their new house, Simone realized that this was what happily ever after really looked like. Not a perfect ending but a perfect beginning. Not the absence of challenges, but the presence of love strong enough to overcome any obstacle. Their story had started with $1.67 and a stranger's kindness. Where it would go from here only time would tell. But Simone knew with absolute certainty that whatever came next, they would face it together. And that was enough. That was everything. The end. But wait, there was one final surprise that Gabriel had been saving for their wedding night. As Simone explored their new home, she discovered a room she hadn't seen before, a nursery, already decorated and waiting. But the real shock came when she found the photo album on the changing table. It was filled with pictures of her and Arya from months before they had officially met Gabriel. Pictures of them at the park, at the grocery store, walking around their old neighborhood. Gabriel appeared in the doorway, his expression sheepish. "I need to tell you something," he said quietly. "I saw you and Arya at the park 3 months before we met in the store. You were reading to her under the big oak tree and she was laughing at the funny voices you made for the characters. I watched you for an hour and I couldn't stop thinking about how much love was in that moment." Simone stared at him in shock. "You were watching us? I started going to that park every weekend hoping to see you again. I never worked up the courage to approach you because I didn't want to seem like some creepy stalker. But when I saw you in that store, counting your money and trying to choose between diapers and formula," Gabriel's voice broke slightly. "I knew the universe was giving me a second chance to be part of something beautiful. So this was all fate," Gabriel finished. "This was always meant to be, Simone. We were always meant to find each other." As Simone processed this revelation, she realized it didn't change anything about their love story. It only made it more magical, more meant to be, more proof that sometimes the universe conspires to bring the right people together at exactly the right moment. Their love story hadn't begun with desperation in a grocery store after all. It had begun with hope in a park, under an oak tree, with a mother's love for her daughter catching the attention of a lonely man who didn't even know he was looking for his family. And that, Simone thought as Gabriel pulled her into his arms in their baby's future nursery, was the most beautiful beginning of all.